Today we're here to talk about personal branding and professional connections. And in the first part of this, first half is going to focus on the pieces of personal branding. And personal branding can be a pretty vague term, but it is basically the way that you convey yourself to the world. And that is through your image, how you convey your mission and your values and your vision. And in this context is particularly how you display that professionally and to employers. So part of this is to keep in mind that every interaction is an opportunity. So every interaction you have with classmates, with teachers on campus, off campus, keep in mind that that is an opportunity that you can hopefully leverage in the future for your career. And for example, if you have an interview, you better believe that the interview doesn't start when you sit down for the questions. So, think about how you would convey yourself in the parking lot. What kind of impression do you make when you walk into the building? What time are you showing up? How are you behaving in the elevator? Are you on your phone? Who are you talking to? Who have you encountered along the way, walking from there to the reception area? How do you present yourself in the reception area? Those are all things that are going to be considered in something like an interview, even for an internship. I think one of the biggest things that is generally considered is, how you present yourself, your personal brand online. So my background is in digital marketing. And I started my career as a social media manager. So this happens to be my particular specialty. And I will speak to this a little bit on this session. But I do have to tell you that at one of my former jobs, I was part of the hiring committee. And my job specifically as that was to search all of the applicants online and creep their profiles before the interview. So, and you better believe that what we found had effects on, the hiring process for us. So I think this is particularly, important in the time of COVID. Hopefully things are on the upswing and that, eventually we'll get back to, quote unquote normal. But in the meantime, as you've seen, a lot of internships and programs are still operating virtually. So some of these, some of the impressions that, you have on your interviews or with these people will only be online. And one of the things too, I won't go too far into this, just because I'm sure you've heard it before, but make sure to be mindful of your personal privacy and settings for your social media. So double check, triple check any privacy settings, particularly on Facebook, because they like to update how they do things without telling you. And be mindful of things, including what friends of friends can see. Pretty self-explanatory. And then another thing that we always recommend is to Google yourself, because other people will probably Google you and you want to know what they are able to see about you. The next part of this is going to be, not all social media is terrible. You can leverage some of it professionally. First off is being intentional about what you leave public. So as an example, for me, working in marketing, it didn't make sense for me to just lock down all of my social media because I wanted to be able to show that I am proficient in, working across many different channels. So, I would make sure that, my LinkedIn was public, my Twitter is used professionally, and even some of the posts that I left open on Facebook, I did that very intentionally about what I wanted the public to see. Also, when in doubt, leave it out, I would say. So, you can always delete stuff that you aren't comfortable with employers seeing on your profile. Um, the next thing would be, when talking about professional social media, we'd be remiss to skip over LinkedIn. And one thing is, fill out your LinkedIn profile entirely. We do actually have a checklist from, I believe it was from St. Scholastica, that we can send out with this deck after, just like, make sure you check off your list of filling out everything, so that it gives a good picture of who you are and what you're looking for, not just now, but in the future as you move on from college and into your career. And one tip that I have for you when using LinkedIn is to utilize the people who have viewed your profile function. So I think the natural reaction on something on that platform is that you wouldn't want anyone to see that you're creeping their profile, right? So you check the little box that like no one can see you doing that. But my recommendation is to keep it open, because then say you're applying for an internship and you want to connect with that recruiter, and you view their profile to see like what they're interested in, that you're submitting the application to either a recruiter, HR manager, etc. And then if they use LinkedIn, they'll be able to see like, oh, you were interested in seeing more about them and you actively went and searched their profile. So I think that's also another great way of using social media effectively. And then they'll be able to then click to your profile, see your personality, your personal brand, and how you convey that on your profile. And feel free to, if anyone has questions, they want to just jump in. Otherwise, we'll have some time for questions at the end too. So now another big part of personal branding and the impression that you make when applying for an internship or job is going to be through your resume. And a lot of times that is the only chance you even have at creating an impression, because that is going to be, the step in between whether they call you back for an interview or not. So it is really pretty important to focus on the resume, particularly if it's for a competitive position. So a couple resume resources for you. I decided not to put any, examples in this presentation, because it definitely varies, but I think that directing you to where you can get the best help is going to be the most useful, because everyone, depending on what you're going to school for may have a little bit different, and what you're applying for will have a little bit different needs. So my top tip is going to be to utilize your career center at your school if you have one. I know that not all of the schools in the area have a dedicated career center, but for the larger schools like St. Scholastica, UMD, UWS, and the like, they have fantastic career centers that we've worked closely with in the past, with really great resources. So that is where, I went to UMD once upon a time, and that is where I learned how to do a resume, was through an appointment with my career center. And I still use a lot of what I learned with them today, particularly in my role now, helping people with their resumes. And they also offer other things like doing LinkedIn headshots and LinkedIn profile reviews, which is also super helpful. So definitely utilize your Career Center if you have one. If you don't have one, you have North Force. So we do have a resume guide on our website, which we will be updating very soon to be a little bit more helpful to college students. But in the meantime, we do free resume reviews for any of our candidates on North Force. So if you either have a resume on there or want to update your resume in your profile, we can definitely, feel free to send that over to Kara or I, and we can definitely help you with that. And then I wanted to add a few resume tips I wish I had known when I was in college. Maybe you already know these, but learning how to emphasize your soft skills is very beneficial for a resume when you're first starting out, particularly since maybe many of the jobs that you've had so far don't directly relate to the industry that you're hoping to go in, such as like summer jobs or part-time jobs that you've held through school. But what is applicable across the board is always going to be those soft skills. So how did you learn, what did you learn in those roles in terms of customer service and communication and problem solving and conflict management and leadership? Those are the things that you'll want to emphasize when it comes down to what you're putting into your resume for those roles. The next tip is customize your resume to every job opening that you apply to. There's definitely a lot of ways to go about this. It makes sense to pull some of the language that from the job posting into your resume of how you're, communicating. And, if they're asking for someone with, strong customer service background, you want to make sure that you're mentioning specifically, customer service and how you have, how many years you had in that and what your experiences have been and how you develop that. And then this is one thing that we preach here at North Force is always save and send your resume as a PDF. I know it's probably kind of basic advice, but it really helps, especially when you're submitting into maybe some automated systems that can't always pick up different types of files. PDF is pretty common and can be viewed on almost any system, and you have much less of a risk of it appearing messy or having issues with the formatting. Next couple of tips is one is research your industry. One example I use is resumes for creative marketing professionals will look a lot different than resumes from engineering or finance. Something in the marketing realm, would be very common to see, different types of fonts and colors and formatting, where some of the other industries, it's pretty standard to have, pretty straightforward resumes to speak to experience. And then also there are going to be different industries such as teaching that have different, different types of ways that they put together, resume or CV in that case. And then for college students, I think it's important, you don't need to fill a full page as long as you include all of the necessary information. So I think that, I've seen a lot of students going to, trying to add stuff so that it fits the full page, and that's great if it is all relevant to the job you're applying for, but you don't need to add stuff just to fill space. Okay, so that's what I had for the personal branding section. Does anyone have any questions so far? Or, Kara or Alyssa, if you have any other input, feel free to jump in as well.
I have a question, Desiree. So, most students are probably haven't used LinkedIn yet. But can you talk a little bit about when a good time to kind of hop on LinkedIn is? Is it, still in college? Is it only when you're doing your job search? When should somebody start creating their LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. I recommend, right away in college. And part of that is because even if you're not actively looking for a job, you will be connecting with a lot of people throughout your college career. Other classmates, other, higher education professionals, people through internships, et cetera. And you'll want to, you have the opportunity to keep that professional connection on LinkedIn, which then you can utilize in the future. Which it may not seem relevant right now, but there are definitely a lot of times that I've, encountered or have had people encounter opportunities from older connections because they were reminded of them on LinkedIn. So I say, it can't hurt to have it now versus later. Awesome, great question. Well, the next Student Connect Business Meet and Greet is going to be on March 25th, so that's next week at noon. And we do have some information about the employers that will be there. Again, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work to do the videos for you, but maybe I can, yeah, we'll try here. So the first here is the Duluth Airport Authority. And Alyssa, I actually didn't have a description for them because I figured you might want to introduce the Duluth Airport as you know them a bit better.
Sure. So the Duluth Airport Authority is the organization that manages the Duluth International Airport, and there are actually a variety of different jobs that they're hiring for, and they have intern positions open on a pretty regular basis. So they will be presenting next Thursday at our 12, and we'll learn a lot more about those internship positions they have open from their operations person, Mark.
Awesome. Okay. We'll see if this works. And if not, we'll just move on. Okay, that was like obviously an ad for the Duluth Airport, but I thought it was really cool and really highlighted Duluth. The next one that we will have on our business meet and greet is M Radiator. And M Radiator is the premier global supplier of precision engineered OEM cooling and heat transfer solutions. So they create, manufacture heat exchangers, mostly for like large equipment. They're headquartered in Hibbing, but also have operations in Mexico, Australia, and Chile. So they're a pretty cool company, in my opinion. Let's see, but this video, hopefully, a couple-minute video to show a little bit more about them.
Around the world, our lives are tied to the mining industry and the hard, honest work it fosters. Braving the elements, prior generations worked hard and persevered in these industries to support their families. Today, that work ethic lives on in something we call the Wasabi Difference. Since 1957, it has been a difference rooted in solving problems that no one else can solve. It's a difference that takes into account each unique challenge our customers and their industries face. In every corner of the world, we embrace and welcome these challenges, which led us to engineer our Wasabi heat exchangers, the world's standard for heat transfer reliability. The Wasabi Difference has made our radiators and flexible core heat exchangers the workhorses of the world's mine sites, oil and gas operations, power generation sites, and other heavy-duty applications. Developed specifically for mobile and stationary heavy-duty equipment needs, our heat exchange solutions are engineered for performance and built to last. From individual cooling tubes that can be removed and replaced in the field, to the use of materials and coatings that can withstand the most demanding operating environments, you'll get the proven performance you want, the reliability you want, the productivity you want, the reduced downtime and maintenance costs you want, the competitive edge you want. No matter your corner in the world, it's time to operate with confidence. It's time to experience the Wasabi Difference.
I am the Wasabi Difference.
Okay, then the next one is going to be Zmc Hotels. So Zmc Hotels manages 39 hotels consisting of over 3,800 rooms. And they have experience managing hotels under multiple brand affiliations as well as independent like boutique hotels. So these include local brands like the Edgewater Hotel and Water Park, the Inn on Lake Superior, the Downtown Duluth Inn, and more from the area. And I think I have a video for them as well.
Welcome. With over 40 years of experience, ZMC Hotels is one of the top hotel management companies in the nation and is known and respected in two critical areas of expertise among hotel franchises: developing outstanding new hotels and turning failing properties into successful properties. And here are the 3 reasons why. We enhance property value with remodels, upgrades, and additions. We control expenses with meaningful budgets and efficient management. And we increase sales with advertising and aggressive promotion. We don't merely manage properties, we manage growth. So you can manage more profit with your hotel investments. ZMC Hotels takes environmental stewardship seriously. We strive to operate efficiently and promote green initiatives for the preservation of our community and the world around us. Welcome.
Awesome. So those are the three that will be at our next business meet and greet. Hopefully you all can make it. So jumping into the next section of today's session here is talking about professional connections. And obviously, when talking about professional connections, a big part of that is going to be networking. And how do you gain those professional connections in the first place, right? So I have a few ideas here, and if anyone else has had any other experiences, definitely pop in and share. But one big one is student organizations at your school. Schools generally make it pretty accessible to be involved in the student organizations, and they're pretty accommodating to student schedules, right? Because you're going to be involved with your peers. Those, getting involved in some of the, even if it's just a few projects with some of the student organizations, you can find some things that you're passionate about or that relate to your major or industry, and then make connections with the like-minded students, and also have something pretty solid that you can then put on your resume that hopefully didn't take a whole lot of time away from everything else that you need to focus on. And then the next one is community organizations. So looking outside of your school toward into the community. And so on May 18th, we actually are going to have a session about this called Community Involvement and Social Impact that Kara will be leading. She has a ton of experience in this realm, and we'll have a lot of ideas for you of what that could look like. Yeah. And then the last thing I have on this list is obviously internships, and I think Sam did a really great job of describing the internship program at Midco, and I think that's a great example of the type of program that is structured and that students can get involved in. Obviously, this depends on if your major either requires or allows for it to do internships. I know that not every program does, but if your program does offer it, and even if it's optional, I highly recommend you take advantage of that opportunity. When I did my internship at college, I interned for a senator's office, and I learned that I did not want to do that with my life. And I think that having these experiences, some of them will show you what you don't want to do, and that's going to be just as important as help you figure out what you do want to do. So great. And then the last piece I have to talk about is using your network once you have it. So first, you're going to want to follow up once you've made the connection. So if someone gives you their business card and asks you to follow up, I mean, definitely look them up on LinkedIn and connect. Send them an email. so that they have your email address. Make sure to reference how, when you met them and, you appreciated meeting them, etc., just to make that connection. Another way I know that has worked for many people and is usually very well appreciated is after, say, like an internship interview, or any interview, is to send a thank you note once you leave, thanking them for their time. I think that is really valuable and appreciated by the hiring, if it's a hiring committee or HR person.
Hey, Desiree, really quick on that. Do you have any thoughts on whether following up with a thank you email or actually writing a thank you note with your hand and putting it in the mail? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think, it all depends on probably the industry and the company. So, if you're interviewing at a really tech savvy company, I think obviously, they would appreciate an email, but they probably don't get many cards. So that might help you to stand out a little bit better, is to do like an actual physical thank you card. But I think in the least, an email is for sure appreciated. That's helpful. So the next piece of this is, once you have these connections, once you've cemented them a little bit by following up or connecting with them online, how do you reach out when you are looking for opportunities? So this is where, in my experience, LinkedIn is really, really helpful, because you can just post, hey, I'm looking for this type of opportunity, to your entire professional network, and wait for people to, refer you, help you out. That provides the ability for people to like comment and steer you in the right direction, but also just kind of gets the word out that you're looking for opportunities. If there's someone specific that you want to talk to, even if it's been a little while, but that they work for a specific company, I think, reconnecting with them on whatever platform that you did in the first place, email or LinkedIn, and asking, for their advice, for their time, if they know of any opportunities, because that's LinkedIn is the place where you would do that. That's a pretty common professional ask. So, and then just keeping in touch and offering value to your network. So again, not to be a broken record, but using LinkedIn, I think, helps keep you visible to your network online, especially right now when you won't be seeing a lot of them in person, right? So, and it's pretty low effort in terms of, I just have to share an update about either what's happening in my life or my career, my professional life, I should say, or something that I know is going to be really valuable to my network. So, if I'm I have a really cool job opportunity that comes through North Force, I'm going to share that with my network because someone might find that really valuable. And, they might want to apply to it, or have a friend that is perfect for it or something. So, I think about what are people in my network going to find interesting, and what can I offer to them right now, because eventually I might ask them for something. Great. And that's everything we had for our personal branding and professional connections part of today. If anyone, has any questions, feel free. Or if anyone has, follow-up questions afterward, we'll be sending out this deck as well as the other resources that we mentioned. And then, feel free to email Kara. It's Kara@northforce.org, or me is Desiree@northforce.org. If you have any questions or, need advice, especially right now in the world of COVID-19, I think everyone could definitely, use a hand in trying to connect. I think you, by being part of Student Connect, are already taking a huge step forward in trying to put yourself out there, and put yourself in a better position for your career and your success in college. So one thing to keep in mind is that Kara and I and Alyssa, we have relationships with, many businesses across the North Force region. So greater northeastern Minnesota, Twin Ports, Northwest Wisconsin. So if you're looking for any opportunities in a certain industry or at a certain company, feel free to reach out, because odds are very good that we know who to talk to, can get you an introduction, can, if, ask them about opportunities at their company, etc., for you. So that is what we're here for. And then, so we are accepting newcomers to the Student Connect program until April 19th. So we still have a little bit of time for that. So if you have any friends that would be interested in this, our next session is going to be our virtual business meet and greet with the 3 companies that we previewed earlier: the Duluth Airport, M Radiator, and Zmc Hotels. So it's a pretty good mix of industries, and really awesome companies. So it's going to be a good one. Great. So that's everything that I had for today. Alyssa, if you have anything else, hop in, but otherwise we'll be ending early.
Sounds good. We'll see everybody next week.